Morning, folks. AJ again. I'm recording this to review some of my pretty abysmal attempts at Hobbit Limited so far. I did a lot of theory crafting and thinking about the set going in. Obviously, hasn't worked out. I want to review. I gave myself the tokens I got from the arena buy-in to use up before I did any reflection, and I'm just going to look at the losses of each deck, try and identify if I made any play mistakes. Well, which ones rather. I know there's a couple of pretty appalling mess ups and just misunderstanding cards and things like that. Um, Something being an instant or a sorcery that can easily happen in the first couple of days of a set. But still, this is fairly atrocious, I would say. There's a small caveat in that this black-white draft, that was okay for the first pack, but it had some serious issues in pack two, and I think I got to like pick 7 or 8, maybe 9 of pack three, something like that. So middle of pack three, from there on, I just saw no more cards. So it's kind of a write-off. When that happens, I tend to sort of clock out and check out from the play and just run through it anyway. But still, there might be some useful information to be found in the losses. So I think the best way to do this maybe is examine each one individually and see where I go. So I might cover Seal today. We'll look at the pools and then the games that were losses. So the deck that I chose for the black-red deck was this. I won't go too in-depth on the build or choices. My experience with the Seal format so far is it seems pretty unlikely that you end up in something outside of a straight two-color deck, or a straight two-color deck with a very minor splash of like 1 to 2 cards that touch a third color. I found that it's mostly about identifying which of the 2 supported color pairs let you reach your critical mass of playables, which sounds a bit odd because we've tended to have a sort of a feast time with regard to playable, like the number of cards that we can pick from a pool, but this is quite, I think it's throttled down. And if we look at the remaining cards in the pool, so black red base, the remaining cards in the pool, just focusing on the black red element, there's the unplayable Getaway Barrel, a couple of combat tricks, and that's it. Oh, 2 Golem Abandoned. Those are the cards that I ended up not choosing on day 0 first draft, our first event, for a deck like this, or for an event like this. So just looking at the quantity of cards, there are only 5 in the entire pool that did not make the cut in black-red. I will share the link to this deck. I'd be happy to see how other people build it. I know that there might be this Bjorn the Fierce jumping out as possibly the best card in the set with regard to limited, but if you look at the rest of the green, it's quite wanting. We've got some very, very expensive Bowside Wanderers, which granted are better in sealed, but like there's nothing really. What I'm getting to is I don't think there's really anything jumping out in green apart from Bjorn and maybe the Troll Negotiations. But I think maybe if you're looking back and I rebuild this from scratch again, I might end up that green is actually a very clear base. I'm not sure, but I'm focusing this on the point of view of the deck I chose at the time. I think since playing this, Golem Abandoned has gone up from the black-red perspective. And I expect it should have been in here instead of, I guess, probably Nori. I don't think we're doing goblin-y stuff, and probably the Ironhill Stalwart. Though there is a bit of an equipment sub-theme. There's like 2 goblin plate mails and 2 bent blades here. I was quite pleased with this. I ended up 3-3, which was like, oh, this was a 5-3 record. Okay. This was a bit better than, it was about actually on par So something like in that 4-3 to 6-3 range, maybe getting the 7 if it's a good day. The 7-2, but like, yeah, 4-3 would have, I think, been disappointing. 5-3 is kind of 5-3, 6-3 is probably the typical case, and then on some outside it might be a 7-2. So let's go into the details and look at the losses. So he started at 3-0, and then we had 2 losses in a row against a mirror matchup and against black-green. So let's maximize this and take a look. So this looks like a keepable hand. We've got a turn 2 play and a turn 3 with 4 of the 5 lands we need for Bolg. Throwing like Golem after he's put a counter on something, that seems okay. So this is, I think, a perfectly keepable hand. So I'll just let it play out. I'll pause at any particular interesting moments. So I'm choosing to block here, and I remember this at the time. I just got the, in quotes, 2-for-1 from this. Yes, they discarded a flashback card. I probably shouldn't have in hindsight, given what I spoke about the initial idea of looking at the hand with the Golem Stinker. But there is also an argument that if they have fewer creatures in play, then the Stinker menace ability gets a little better. So kill that good rare straight away. And then just run out a 4-3. Them having a 1-1 here with the capacity to be a 3-1 versus us having a 2-2 could be probably better for us to have the 2-2 and the extra life from Golem. So that was at least one mistake. So that eats the Golem, and the fact that we are playing against a black deck means that Cruel Bent Blade, we don't really want to end up with just one creature in play. So this is still looking okay now. We've got our 1-1 that's going to die into a 4-4. We can sacrifice it with Bolg. So I just attack here to get the, quotes, free damage in, and then gladly drew Star Up Trouble instead of having to just sacrifice the 1-1 for no benefit with Bolg. So they make the 3-3 into a 5-5. So I think in Arena it's actually... Do we see what's exiled? Oh, we do. Okay, that's good. Right, so they play Front Porch Sentries, Dwarven Mauler, and Snow Slope Hunters. They triple spell on turn 5, which is pretty good. On turn 6, rather, which is pretty good. They choose not to attack. I guess the natural play here is probably to kill the 5-4. Yeah. Okay, attacking there. I guess I didn't really want to trade the Gundabad Opportunist with any of us, like with a 1-drop or something. I'd like to get it to tussle into combat with something more meaningful, or if they have equipped the 4-4, though, if they block with the 2-2 and the 2-3, I'm just trading a 4-4 for a 2-3. This does have upside, though. I'm not sure. Maybe that attack there would have been right. It's hard to see in this particular board state if somebody is a dedicatedly attacking player or not. Taking 4 here, the double block. Maybe the double block is right. Like, if they have a removal spell for one of the creatures, that's going to happen anyway. I guess the +3/+0 on first strike combat trick would be particularly brutal if we double block. And we're on 20, so a first hit of 4 is probably okay. Ah, yes, this is this game. And now I remember. So I've seen this stone giant of high pass. That's red, red 5 for the 7/7 giant that enters with a 3/1 wall defender. And it also makes one of those when you attack, and it's got 2 in a red, second artifact, do 4 damage to any target. I don't really have ways of dealing with it. I attacked here to see if I could get their board narrow enough that, like, maybe in some weird optimistic way, Cruel Bent Blade could finish the job. So I'd played Bolg through the 3/1 at their 4/2, and now, oh, okay, maybe. But like, I realized then when the giant attacks, it just makes more tokens, and I don't think there's comeback from this. Nor the second one. So in this, if I look back, I drew 2 Stir Up Trouble, and I drew Bilbo's Deadly Slice. So what were they used for? And I suspect they were used on something I didn't need to. Okay. I think this Stir Up Trouble on the Great Goblin is correct, especially given my curve out with Gollum next turn. And I mean, I could wait, but I've played against this before, and even in theory, I think it is a, if you can kill it on sight, do so, because any other goblin, orc, or army is just drawing them an extra card whenever it dies. Yeah, I think that's a justifiable play. Then we'll skip forward to the first use of... Okay, so we use Stir Up Trouble to convert a 1/1 into a 4/4 and kill their guy and like get the value, which is, I think, quite a an instant moment in time thinking. It's not long term at all. There was no need to do that, I think. Like, I could just leave the 1/1 behind. Like, maybe make Bolg and turn the 1/1 into a 4/4, and then I've got a 5/5 that tussles with his 4/2. But it's just a 4/2. Any of my 2-drop creatures will deal with it. So that's probably one case where I didn't need to cast the removal spell. Too short-sighted, that's the phrase I was trying to think, so apologies, I'm still not quite finished the first coffee of the day. And then we'll skip to the second use of the Stir Up Trouble, which I think was time-limited. No, that was the time-limited one. Ah, okay. So the time-limited one... No, it wasn't. The second one we got was time-limited. There we go. Okay. So, we'd cast the 4/2, exile the second Stir Up Trouble, and then we needed to cast it on the following turn or lose it. So there's a bunch of different things that happen here. Knowing that I've got 2 Stir Up Trouble in the deck meant that the turn 2 block with the Ravenous Rat Goblin against their 1/1 army was dreadful. Not just because I had the Golem at the time, but because it's another sacrifice outlet to, even after getting the counter from Golem, it's another sacrifice outlet that lets me sack to Stir Up Trouble if I need to, so I could have double spelled there, possibly with Bolg, which would have been really good. Like Bolg, sacrificing the 4/4, kill the 2/3, get the token, then maybe I don't even need to stir, like, I could Stir Up Trouble my 2/2 against their 5/4. The other part is that I would have still had Golem in play, so the entire cadence of the game, who's the attacker, would be much more clear, given I have a menace creature. And maybe I end up having the Stir Up Trouble for at least their first copy of the Stone Giant, you know, which then possibly ends up being the stage where their board is small enough that this Cruel Bent Blade starts to matter a bit more. So that was definitely mistakes aplenty. So that, I think, I'm not saying the game was definitely won, just there were a bunch of suboptimal plays, which it's another episode of which new and interesting way will I screw up this game. So the second loss. So this is a pretty aggressive hand. We've got double Goblin Plate Mail. That's the one in Erectus, amass one, and equip creature gets +1/+0 and menace, and it auto equips onto the army. So we can make a 4-power menace creature, which I think is what I ended up doing. So they're black-green. Yeah, I play the plate mail. Interesting. Why didn't I play the second plate mail there? If that was the plan. I guess, I mean, if they want to use a murder, like Bilbo's Slice, to destroy, like, my 4/2 army, I still have the 2 plate mails, although they are kind of slow, but this Ironhill Stalwart comes down and picks one up immediately. The rat here doesn't really affect the board that much. I could see arguments for both, like maybe it is better keeping the second plate mail so that, like, you at least get this one dead first, but putting a 4/2 menace creature when your opponent has no board seems in hindsight like it would have been a better plan. I'd like to hear some opinions on that. So they just... How did that get in the bin again? Oh, they discarded the rat. Ah, okay. Excuse me. Again, just working through coffee, so my brain will eventually catch up. So we play this and we get rid of Thorin. That's the Flame Tongue Kavu 3/4 dwarf, and glad we do have an equipment in play. So they just make Golem and put a counter on their army, and the land also puts a counter on the army. So let's go to the previous action. This is rough. We are again priced into playing Thorin first. We're priced into playing Thorin first because ideally we want to attack, but also it's time limited by Gundabad Opportunist. I remember realizing that I did not need to move I did need to move the equipment here, but there was another game, I think I probably won it. I thought this was the example, like, yeah, so Thorin doesn't have to have the equipment itself. This is just like week one of making sure you read the mythics that might not come up so often. But yeah, it just moves an equipment around, not dwarf limited, and then that creature does the damage. But in this case, I think I should have put the equipment on the 4/2, given Thorin has trample. I think that's a little bit of a better deal than just dumping the equipment onto Thorin himself, which makes their quarrel a little bit problematic, but I do get in for one. But again, like, they've gained a little bit of life here from Gollum. This could have done 8 damage. So they're on 14 when I don't play the rat, and they don't have this in hand, and maybe they don't even cast the Culling Darkness, which means they don't have a monster in play. So there's a lot of what ifs here. Again, just sticking with the game plan, thinking through what I'm trying to do. Yeah, this rat play seems poor in hindsight. That's twice now that I've made bad choices with that. So they attack, I take the damage, first hit, don't want to double block. With all that open mana, they play the 5/5. So, looking here at this board state, what looks like a good choice? Trading the 4/2 with Gollum seems okay. They can't block the 2/1. I guess attack with the 2/1 and the 4/2 and follow up with the 4/5? No, I play that first pre-combat. Interesting. That's... It does add more board state. It gets a little all-in-y on this, though, because when the 1/1 dies, all of the counters get lumped on, which, sure, we have an 8/6 menace creature, but it means that the 1/1 doesn't really impact the board that much, and any single clean removal gets rid of their big threat. I think playing the 4/5 would have been better, keeping the 1/1 back until this goblin. Like, this is doing enough as a 4/2 menace without needing the bonus from Fearsome Goblin Pair. So they make a 6/6, jumping, asking for trouble. I did not remember the game state, but yeah, that was very obviously what was going to happen. So they cast Stir Up Trouble on our giant token. We make the 4/2 and equip, get some damage in. The 4/5, sorry. So the Ironhill Stalwart auto equips. Stalwart gets in for another 5. They follow up their Old Fat Spider with Bowside Wanderers. So we're still not we're not in great shape, but they're not out of the woods either. We've drawn Misty Mountain Raider, so we can attack with our 5/5 menace creature, and they it trades with the Bowside Wanderers, and it gives us a 2/2 army. But I don't attack, which is odd. I guess hoping to double block here, but the presence of this Head of the Hunt is problematic, and he's just continuously growing his creatures with Bjorn's Hospitality with those land drops every turn. So they attack, chump block, take out a 1/1. No, we don't even take out a 1/1. What happened there? So click through. I went back too far, apologies. So the Wood Elves come down. They attack for 7. I chump block the 10/10. It's because the Warg exiles things, yeah. So we draw Golem, make the Ironhill Stalwart that's attacking as a 6/6 with menace. Or it was attacking as a 5/5, now a 6/6 with Golem. We gain some life, we amass 2. They double block, so we're trading, I guess, in principle, the Ironhill Stalwart just for the Head of the Hunt. Cast Golem, Silent Stinker, 4/3 menace. They're playing a rabbit, and they're activating Bjorn's Hospitality. The rabbit grows. And that's the thing, I guess, with Bjorn's Hospitality. It still gives the counters even after you turn it into a creature. And that's kind of game over. Yeah, there's no real clean blocks. I think I definitely misrepresented how aggressive I was supposed to be against this deck. And it's very simple magic, really. If your opponent has bigger creatures than you, if their guys are on average chunkier and fatter than you and have bigger butts and bigger fists, then they're going to hit you. They're going to block better. So you need to be leaning on the faster aggressive part of your deck because your curve is a bit lower and you're presenting small menace threats and things like that. So yeah, I think playing this again, that was a winnable game. Not saying it would be guaranteed, but it looked like it was possible. Mistake with the rat, mistake with probably running out Thorin blind, and I think with the choice of use of the Goblin Plate Mail, as well as the turn where I had the Ironhill Stalwart. Yeah, this turn, I think. Here. So instead of just going second Plate Mail, I think just attacking with the 4/2 on the menace creature and then playing the Stalwart and going, yep, I'll equip this. Now it's a 5/5 that can trade with yours. Yeah, that's much better. Okay. So we'll go to the third loss. We had a couple of wins afterwards. But yeah, the large monsters were definitely problematic, were the 7/7 giant or just the generic green big creatures that were running around the place. Something I noticed as well, it's not in these games in particular, but I'm thinking back to the sideboard when I have those 2 golems. And you know that, and one of the things about that, I got really lazy. I shouldn't have. I should have been looking back after every game and checking my sideboard and thinking based on what I played, is there anything I should change? Have I identified any cards that are like just not performing, or like there was a clear misread or a mistake? I don't think there was a like dedicated mistake in adding the cards. Like the build is justifiable. It's not optimal. If it's optimal, we don't have opinions. We just have the solution. Um, so, but in looking back, I do remember a couple of games where the life total was getting in with red decks. I'm not just talking about this event. The life total for the opponent, they were stabilizing on 6 life, 4 life, 3 life, 2 life, and I maybe a mixture of like drafting a bit differently, building a bit differently, drawing a bit better, could have closed out though, or been definitely playing, um, improve the play patterns. Those are things that could have all contributed to that little bit of life. And in this particular case, Gollum, the 2/2/1 from the sideboard, I as well, like I assume many others did, thought it triggered the life loss only if you exile something, but it doesn't. You may exile something, you always make the opponent lose life. I played against it and it did kill me. It did 4 damage, and it meant that I was just not able to kill it. I wasn't able to interact it or exile it. It was a board stall, and the opponent was able to burn me out with it from 2 on entry, and then getting it back once when they forced me to block it. Otherwise, I would have died. So I was dead either way. But yeah, just those, like, something I would recommend, which I see people not doing all the time, and I'm just confessed I'm guilty of it as well. Building your seal deck and just playing every game. Like, often if the deck ends up performing like really weirdly, like maybe very badly, or if something is realized, so it's like, oh, this should be built differently, then people kind of reflect after one game and go back and reconstruct. But I think the vast majority of the time it's click, submit, play without review and without checking. And I think that's really necessary. And I'm going to try and get myself out of that habit. Maybe slap a sticky note on the camera or something. Okay, so this is the third loss. Keepable hand. It's got aggressive stuff. 2/2 menace, 2/2 first strike, followed by they lose a card. So let's maximize this. Give us some more space, and let's see. So the mulligan. We go turn to Goblin Plate Mail for the 2/1 menace army. Attack, and then yeah, just make the 2/2 Nori that gives first strike to someone when it attacks. They play the 3/2, and I think, I mean, maybe this is incorrect, but I played the crude bent blade here. That's the diabolic edict equipment that equips 2 for +2/+1. I think if they have a single creature that's in any way relevant, just make them sacrifice it or keep their board as small as possible. It's also true for the menace creatures, or like maybe attacking with Misty Mountains Raider, that you want their board to be small so that you get the biggest benefit from your, like, their inability to block menace, or poorer blocks because of you having a 4/4 and them not having enough creatures to block it, so you can continuously get the amassing and so on. So we send in. This is looking good. They're going down to 8, and they've got the 3/4. We don't draw the 5th land, so we can't really cast any spells. I'm going straight to attack here. So send in both, give the dwarf first strike. They give their creature +2/+1, which is sort of fine. Oh, they destroy, yeah, they destroy the equipment and then block. That was a bit of a blowout. Not something I would generally consider, but maybe seeing it once and its effectiveness, it's worth keeping in mind. Like, the 2 life there is big. The 2/1 is also big. It's not exactly a 2/1 because the equipment kills something. So, and it's also, they spent 4 mana on it. Like, it's kind of okay. And it's risky for them into our open mana, but them not playing something on turn 4 maybe should have put alarm bells out. So perhaps the play was just, like, it may have just been make the front port sentries put an equipment on one of the creatures and just attack with one as either a 6/4 or a 4/2 menace, because that still makes it kind of tricky to block, even if they have a flash creature or a way to kill one of the equipment, it still has menace. So I think that was probably a better play, but not something I thought about at the time. And actually, I think it is just the better play than attacking with both. Not because of hindsight and then suddenly realizing Thorin's Last Stand is a card, but we're not really casting, like, doing anything else with the rest of our mana. So even from a mana use perspective, putting the equipment on one creature. Yeah, sorry, it's only +1. I added the Diabolic Edict equipment parent toughness to it. But yeah, just moving. So it would be moving the Cruel Bent Blade onto this and attacking as a 4/2 menace. Yeah. And then being on 8. Yeah, I think I like that. I like that a bit more. So instead of attacking with Nori Teller of Tales as a 4/3 that gives itself first strike against their 3/4 dwarf from Dwarven Shortsword, and also attacking with the Goblin Plate Mailed Amass token as a 2/1 menace, the better play, I think, is Swamping a Mountain for Front Porch Sentries, and then equip the Cruel Bent Blade onto the 2/1 Goblin Army so that it's a 4/2 menace with double equipment giving it menace. If you spotted that, fair play. Yeah, I did not at the time, and it took me a moment now, even with all the luxury of time of a review. Okay, so we'll continue. Still, the trade-off isn't the worst here. So we miss on the land again, but we get in with the 3/2 menace. We finish off their dwarf token. Take some damage from the 1/3. They're attacking with the Master of Councils, and they play a 6/5 Laketown Mariners, which is 6/5 Vigilance Ward 2. So it's not a green creature, but it is presenting the same problem as we had in the previous loss, where they just had bigger monsters and we weren't able to close out the game. In this case, we did draw 3 of our 5-drops, which isn't great. So we cast the Howl, instant, lose 2 life, draw 2 cards, and we draw their 5th land. They run out Bard, King of Dale on turn 6, and I guess it's a pretty straightforward murder target. Like, it's possible the pass is correct, but I don't think you really want to leave that around. Well, I didn't. We can chump block the Laketown Mariners next turn. And Bard, yeah, they've got 1 card in hand, what kind of damage it does. And I think if I remember, this actually ends up winning the game. They just draw so many cards from it. Making the 4/5 that then picks up the plate mail and can trade with the Fisherman, Laketown Mariners, maybe. But I think the play here, because I can still double block, like I can just put 4/5 and any of the other creatures in front of the Mariners. They only have 1 card in hand. I still have 4. I think I'm just supposed to cast Bilbo's Deadly Slice to destroy target Bard, King of Dale. Oh yeah, this was brutal. So I didn't destroy the Bard, King of Dale. They untap, draw, and they play Celebrate the Mountain King, which is the Oblivion Ring. So that removes the 5/5, but it also says Recruit. So that not only do they draw 2 cards from Bard, King of Dale, they'll get 2 soldier tokens, and this absolutely was devastating. Yeah, they didn't recruit, but they did draw a bunch of cards, and now I'm in chump block mode and trying to catch up. So I put the rats under the bus. um, on 3 life and just kind of seeing the writing on the wall. Or not technically dead, but mostly dead. Like, maybe just go, okay, let's assume. No, that doesn't even do anything. I was going to say, like, Bulk, we can only play one creature here that interacts with them. So yeah, if we go back here, I'm on 10 life. If I just kill Bard, let's assume that this is the Oblivion Ring 4-drop. So just kill Bard. We're on 10. I can still take 6 damage from the Fisherman. I've got 2 chump blockers. They draw their Oblivion Ring. Are they going to Oblivion Ring one of the 1/1s? No. So they attack. I could even just take 7. But the 2 extra cards from Bard is gross. And they get to equip as well. So Bard would be dead. Yes, their other guy is a 3/3. We'd throw that under the bus. And then now we'd have the choice for the Iron Hill Stalwart, but I guess any creature that we end up playing is going to be put under the Oblivion Ring. And we're still in the case of we can only play one threat. So either of those lines I don't think matters which way we do it. Whatever is being played here. Although it does mean that the previous turn they would not have gotten the extra damage in with Bard, so he would have been able to take a hit from the 3/3. So yeah, here, this damage from Bard wouldn't have happened. So instead of being on 10 minus 7 going to 3, we'd be on 10 minus 3 going to 7. And possibly then there is an avenue to have enough time to resolve Bald and Misty Mountain Raider. Again, I don't think... So if we look back, going through, this seems reasonably straightforward. The 2 major errors I saw was that's okay, we're using our mana. Yeah, this attack, but it's not specifically about the, what is it, Thorin's Last Stand to kill the equipment, but it's more thinking about what cards could they have. Like, there's the counter spell, unless you pay 4. There's the flashback card draw spell. There's damage, like 5 damage to a tap creature. There's like, those are the kind of things I would thinking about. But in that case, like, even the 5 damage to a tap creature, I probably just want to put the equipment all on the goblin and then play the front porch sentries and just attack with the goblin army token. And then the other play was later in the game where I didn't kill Bard King of Dale on sight. I rated it kind of low because it is that, well, I have to untap before I get the benefit, and I've also got the condition of I need to draw more cards or make tokens, but actually I let them untap with it. So they did have the mana to draw their cards and make their tokens. But also it is a way that they'll almost certainly get way ahead of the game. I think they just need one significant trigger from this, whereas there was no need for that to happen. Okay, this is up to about 40 minutes now. It's just one sealed review. It's a little off the cuff, so if I've made some mistakes in the analysis, but I may have made some mistakes in the analysis, but I think it was reasonably accurate, and it kind of gives me the impression that, like, well, just the old adage of Magic, like being careful with when you use your removal. Like that's 2 instances of, in one game, using Stir Up Trouble too early, and in another game, not timing Bilbo's Deadly Slice correctly. some sequencing with mana use and equipment, and thinking about the need for having more creatures in play. Like one of the games was a trade-off with the rat that I didn't need to make, which would have allowed it to be sacrificed to their cruel bent blade later, things like that. So there's a bunch of small, individually small issues, but add them up and they easily add up to, in this case, 3 game losses. All right. Thanks very much. Let me know any thoughts or opinions on this. I'll share the links to the pool um, in the video description. I'll catch you again.